Hey everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, back with my 10 best wrestlers of the week. Last week I introduced the concept of the show to you people, and we found out, man, that was weird, and we found out that Kenny Omega and Aleister Black won the first 2 weeks, and they sit atop the rankings on 10 points each. Will one of them extend their lead this week, or will a new wrestler come along to join them at the top of the mountain? Tremendously exciting. It'll probably be a new wrestler because I don't think either of them have really done much this week. Let's get into it, let's go. Starting off at number 10, Seth Rollins. Sethy roll. He's back with a bang because he's brought back his new finisher, or his old new finisher, the curb stomp, or I think the blackout, as WWE are referring to it now. He had a nice little main event on Raw against Finn Balor, and the crowd popped huge when he hit that curb stomp. We haven't seen it for quite some time, and I'm personally very excited because, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I loved 2015 Seth Rollins with a passion. He was my favourite wrestler of 2015, and I loved him to quite a dangerous degree. I thought he was wonderful. And now, I mean, since his injury, he's never really been the same. But this curb stomp renewal is the first step, I think, to getting him back to where he once was and back into the centre of my fragile heart. Love you, Seth. So Rollins gets 1 point. He is a newcomer to the list. Well done, Seth. Number 9, Will Ospreay. What is there to say about Will Ospreay that hasn't been said already? He is one of the best wrestlers in the world, and he's only 24, and he does loads of flips, and he's really good at telling his story as well. And if you say, you know, he just does flippy wrestling, he doesn't tell stories, you're wrong, because he does tell really good stories. Great facial expressions, great emotion, great passion, great anger. This week he had a match on Ring of Honor TV against Jay Lethal, and predictably, when you put two of the best wrestlers in the world in a match together, they come out with a pretty good match, even if it was one slightly limited by the constraints of a TV slot. So well done, Will. You get 2 points, and if you remember the table from last week, and don't worry, we'll look at the table a bit later on in full, but if you remember the table from last week, Ospreay was on 8 points, so this bumps him up by 2, joining Kenny Omega and Aleister Black at the top of the table. It's all hotting up, and we're only 3 weeks in. It's crazy. Next up, number 8, earning himself 3 points, is Jay Lethal. I think maybe of all the top tier wrestlers in the world, Jay Lethal might be the least appreciated or the most often overlooked, especially since the end of his mammoth Ring of Honor World Championship reign. Jay Lethal is so consistently good that it almost becomes like a formality just to describe him as one of the best wrestlers in the world, but if you really sit and think about it, he is truly phenomenal, and it's honestly a surprise to me that he hasn't yet been signed properly by WWE. Is it too late in his career now for him to sign with WWE? I guess Styles did it, and he's in his late 30s, so maybe the door's still open for Jay Lethal. But regardless, he beat Will Ospreay on Ring of Honor TV and kept some of that momentum going, because since losing the belt, Lethal's floated around like the upper mid-card, the mid-card of Ring of Honor, but he can always be relied upon to deliver a show-stealing match, and that is exactly what he did. Next up, number 7, earning himself 4 points, is my new favourite wrestler. Lads, I must calm down because I've got a new favourite wrestler, and his name is Darby Allen. Now I should point out there were 2 Evolve shows this week. Evolve is kind of NXT's unofficial NXT. It's an indie promotion which is sort of unofficially very much affiliated with WWE. They often send scouts there. That's why it was so important when Heyman offered Ospreay that Evolve contract. It was a sign that, like, WWE are interested in you. A lot of wrestlers tend to go Evolve to NXT to WWE. That's sort of the chain of command. That's kind of how it works for many guys, and I really hope that this Darby Allen kid can really, I think, right, a prediction time right now, I think one day Darby Allen will be NXT champion, at the very least NXT champion. Why do I love Darby Allen so much? Because he's, well, first of all, he's kind of dangerous and scummy looking. He's apparently a part-time, like, skater. He's really good at skateboarding, and he just looks the part, man. He looks dangerous, but also kind of beautiful at the same time. Like, he looks like Jared Leto in Fight Club midway through getting beaten up by Edward Norton. Not right at the very end when his face is a mess, just when he's got a few cuts and bruises. It looks proper, dangerous. If you've got a girlfriend, do not introduce her to the work of Darby Allen. If you've got a boyfriend, don't introduce her to the work of Darby. Look, I'm just saying, he pushes all the buttons for me, is what I'm saying. At Evolve 90, that was weird. At Evolve 98, Darby Allen featured in the main event in a title match against their champion, Sabre Jr. And Sabre Jr. basically beat the hell out of him. Sabre Jr. was clearly a cut above. That was the story of this match. But the other key story was that Darby Allen just did not give up. He's cocky and brash and dangerous and unhinged, but he's also got a lot of heart, and that's the story they're really pushing here. Sabre Jr. eventually did come out with the win, but when they talk about a star-making performance in wrestling, I think this is a very key step in Allen's career. I've got my eye on him, and not in that way, and I think He's just really pretty, all right? But I think he's very good as well. NXT champion one day. That's my prediction. Number 6, Bobbington Roode. He's won the US Championship. Get in, Bobby. Very, very glorious indeed. Very happy for Bobby Roode there. I think the main reason that I'm so happy is because I was worried that they were going to put the belt on Jinder Mahal, and then we just have another rehash of his WWE title run, where it was like, oh, I'm the evil foreigner. I just think those stories have no place in 2018, really. But I think Bobby Roode will be a very good US champion. He, of course, won the whole remainder of the tournament in just one night. He defeated Mojo Rawley in the semi-finals and then said, look, I want the finals right here and now. And then crazy Daniel Bryan came out and he was like, you know what, Bobby, got a good idea there. I'm going to chuck you in the match, mate. And Bobby Roode was like, yes. And Jinder was like, no, it's all right. I got the Singh brothers. Sent the Singh brothers in. Bobby fought them off. He still won the match. I don't know why I'm calling the match now. Bobby Roode's the new US champion. I think I need to just take a bit of a chill pill. Well done, Bobby. Well deserved. And his first taste of main roster gold. Next up, number 5, Walter, or Big Daddy Walter, as he is sometimes affectionately known. For those of you who aren't aware, Big Daddy Walter is a ginormous Austrian man. He is one of the best big man wrestlers in the world, but he's only really emerged in a global sense in the past few years. Now, you know how I was talking about that Darby Allen match with Sabre Jr. on the first night of the Evolve doubleheader? On the second night of the Evolve doubleheader, Zack wrestled Walter in a non-title match, and Walter won, really putting himself in contention as the next Evolve champion somewhere down the line. Although there might be a few twists and turns. I don't know if it'll be that straightforward, but this was an incredibly good match for Walter to showcase his strength, his tenacity, and also his keen sense of storytelling. Because whenever a wrestler is either too flippy or too big or too something, people always go, yeah, but they try and pigeonhole them and go, they're just that sort of wrestler. And hopefully, as kind of wrestling develops, you kind of get to see that some guys aren't just a one-trick pony, and Walter certainly is not a one-trick pony. He also had a match alongside his Ring Kampf tag team partner Timothy Thatcher at PWG's show Mystery Vortex, where none of the matches are announced beforehand. Now, I haven't seen this show because PWG don't have an on-demand service, they just released DVDs, but I read some reviews online, and by all accounts, this match was a show stealer. It was Walter and Timothy Thatcher against the team of Matt Riddle and Jeff Cobb, and apparently it was just wonderful, and again, Walter is just a boss, so he gets number 5 on this week's list. Number 4, Matt Riddle. Now, for those who aren't familiar, Matt Riddle was a brutally good MMA fighter who got kicked out of the UFC because he loves smoke weed every day. All that, he loves a bit of that. But regardless, since then he has entered the world of professional wrestling and has become like just one of the most astonishingly good. You know when someone who isn't a wrestler comes into wrestling and they just take to it instantly, like Kurt Angle did back in the late 90s. This is Matt Riddle. He has come from MMA and just instantly knows how to be a fantastic professional wrestler. And he proved that this week with 3 awesome matches. As mentioned, he was part of that tag team match with Jeff Cobb against Ring Kampf at PWG, but he also wrestled on both nights of the Evolve shows. He lost to AR Fox on night 1 and he defeated Jaka on night 2. Matt Riddle, he's just so cool and chilled as well. Let me tell you a personal story about Matt Riddle. I was backstage at a wrestling show once and he was just messing about with a stick, like a Steve Blackman stick, just flipping it about. And I walked past him and he just went ksh, and stopped it about that far from my face, just instinctively. And I obviously was terrified, and I was just like, oh, and he went, you gotta watch out for the stick, bro. And I was like, I'm never gonna be that cool. No. Ricochet has been one of the most talked about wrestlers this week because he is officially signed with WWE. He is now at the Performance Center as we speak, doing press-ups right now. No, he had his final farewell match at PWG's show, defending the PWG Championship against the man who trained him. And as Dave Meltzer mentioned in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, apparently the crowd weren't totally on board with Ricochet in this match. Usually when a guy leaves PWG, apparently the fans are very supportive. They're always like, you deserve it, I go on to bigger and better things. In this match, apparently, they were chanting 205 Live at him. That's mean, guys. Indie wrestling fans are mean. Ugh. But regardless, this was still a phenomenal match. Ricochet lost the belt and then cut a promo while he was covered in like thumbtacks and just bleeding, where he thanked everyone for supporting him throughout his career, and eventually, despite some of the negative chants during the match, he got a nice little send-off. So congratulations, Big Trevor Mann. He will now be, you know, hopefully debuting in WWE or on NXT very soon. Maybe not on 205 Live. Don't put him on 205 Live. Put him in NXT, go on. Number 2, the man that Ricochet faced and the man who trained him, Chuck Taylor, sexy Chucky T. Maybe the wrestler with the strongest Twitter game in the world today, and also one of the funniest, but he reminded us all that he's not just a comedy wrestler, he's a bloody good wrestler as well. In the reviews I read for this show, it said that basically Chuck Taylor was just balling out of his mind. Like, he did a dive through a table, he was hitting pile drivers, he hit the awful waffle, his finisher, on Ricochet into thumbtacks. He was just going all out to make sure that Ricochet's last match on the independent scene was a good one, and also a painful one and a brutal one as well. He had some nice words to say about Ricochet following the match, and apparently said that he knew from the moment that he trained Ricochet when he was only a teenager that he was already better than him. But in this match, I'm going to give the edge to Chuck Taylor, and that's why he's number 2 on my Wrestlers of the Week. And finally, some guys in this match have had 2 excellent matches in a week, some of them have had 1 excellent match in a week. My number 1 has had 3 excellent matches, which just takes the mickey, really. He's just being really cheeky about it, isn't he? It's Sabre Jr., the finest technical wrestler in the world today. As mentioned, Zack just destroyed Darby Allen in a very heartwarming match for Darby Allen. It was his star-making performance, but Zack just tied him in knots. He then on the following night lost to Volta, and if you watch Sabre Jr., please watch him against a bigger man, because Zack wrestles larger men like no one else in the world. He's so cerebral with it, but also so brutal. Like, people who just think of Zack as a submission guy, you're quite wrong, because he loves just hitting penalty kicks into their chest, big elbows, big strikes. He really is a complete package who just happens to have one of the best technical games in the world as well. Not content with 2 brilliant matches in Evolve, Zack also had a good match, not a brilliant one, but a very good match at PWG by what I've read, against Keith Lee. Zack and Keith Lee had a match of the year contender last year. Apparently this match wasn't quite as good, but was still a great match. And when you have 2 excellent matches and 1 great match in a week, I can't really give Wrestler of the Week to anyone else, whether they've signed for WWE or not. Ricochet. So that's it for my top 10 wrestlers of the week for this week, and my number 1 is Sabre Jr. And if Sam flashes up the table now, you'll see a tremendously exciting situation at the top. Kenny Omega, Aleister Black, Sabre Jr. and Willington Ospreay all tied for first place. Who will emerge as who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? It's crazy. Look at, oh my god, it's so exciting. I love stats. I'm just such a nerd. That's all for this week. Thank you very much for watching. I am Jack from Cultaholic.com. You can follow me at Jack the Jobber on Twitter. You can tell me that my opinions are wrong, but also please do suggest other wrestlers or other matches that might have seen throughout the week that you want to feature on this list. Follow us all at Cultaholic. Check out our Patreon if you enjoy what we do, and never ever forget, of course, to join us.